As we look at our past, we can only wonder of the people who lived before us. Fleeting images, distant memories, they provide clues to lives once lived. It was 1940. Like most wars, it was a time of apprehension and uncertainty. The students of La Crosse Teachers College were preparing for an uncertain future. There was Lois Williamson from Racine. She was in the band, a member of Sigma Lambda Sigma, and part of the Women's Recreational Association. Paul Hassett from Milwaukee was the editor-in-chief of The Racket. He was vice president of Beta Sigma Chi. Soon he would enlist in the Air Force. And then there was Harris Stewart from West Allis, all-conference football player and a member of Phi Kappa Epsilon. He would become the first La Crosse student lost to the war. Words, memories, and letters, all weaving a story so that we might connect with them. It started with Pearl Harbor.
It was certainly very interesting times for my mother. She graduated, she met my father. Pearl Harbor took place, the war began, and then shortly after that, my father enlisted in the military to serve his country. It must have been absolutely tumultuous times. And then, of course, I was born right in the mix of things. My mother's first connection to La Crosse was really to come here to UWL. She came from a family that none of the family members went to college. Some of them didn't finish high school. She was one of 10 children. So it was a wonderful opportunity for my mother, and then spent 4 years here at UWL and graduated with a major in physical education. I think she knew at the time that this was an incredible opportunity for her to get an education, to get out of Chicago, and she loved it here from I think the first day she was here. She liked the university, she liked her professors, she liked her fellow students, and she really fell in love with the community. I have heard a little bit about the story of going back to Chicago on the train. She didn't go back to Chicago that often, and this apparently was a very memorable occasion.
It was very much a feeling of what a war we were in and how serious it was. And we wondered if there were other people in that coach that were war people or affected in some way, had someone in the service.
The lights were off of the train at night,
and we started singing hymns and Christmas songs. Yes, we just sang, and no one said anything, and no one talked, and it was dark in the train. It was really a memory.
The passengers found this all very, very reassuring, and started singing along and humming along with them, and it turned out to be something that was really imprinted in her memory, this night train ride back to Chicago. My father was in charge of a hospital train that would be sent up to the front lines to collect wounded soldiers. And my father would do operations on the most severely wounded soldiers. And at times, even though the train was clearly marked with a Red Cross on it, it would be routinely strafed and bombed. And so it was a dangerous operation. One of the items that I have that I personally treasure is this little billfold that my father took to war with him. And he carried this every day in his shirt pocket, right above his heart. And it was important to him to be able to remember his family he left behind, a family of a soldier who was overseas, and my mother not knowing if he was coming back or not.
As the war continued, more students from La Crosse were sent overseas. Back home, a history teacher from campus took a deep interest in their lives. Myrtle Trowbridge would begin corresponding to GIs, and her letters would lift their morale, and the stories from the students would warm her heart.
I cherished the moments I wrote to the boys fighting in the war. I felt a special bond with each of them. Those students, my boys, meant a lot to me, and my letters gave me a chance to brighten their long, hard days and to let them know we were thinking about them.
Miss Trowbridge, I want to thank you for writing because your letters give one a shot in the arm. I don't believe that we boys who you have been writing to over here will ever be able to repay you for writing us. The countryside over here is much like that of Wisconsin, with its valleys and hills and green fields, but it can never take the place of Wisconsin in my heart. The ending of the war here has a peculiar effect on us. For years, we have planned on how we'd celebrate that day, and yet when it came, it was just another day. Sincerely, Robert Paulson.
My dear Miss Trowbridge, just look up to the North Star and down the other side, and you'll find me. But look hard, for I'm in a hot, wet valley at the government's expense. Life is a bit rugged, like camping out. Hope you are in fine health. I received my last letters, which helped my morale. Regards, Lieutenant Paul Hassett, 9th Combat Cargo Squadron.
November 29th, 1944. Dear Miss Trowbridge, I received 2 racket issues about homecoming, and from what I read, festivities went over very well. Can't you just picture the homecoming after the war is over? Must say aloha for now, and here's wishing you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Sincerely, Lieutenant W.F. Blueshine.
One boy I remember was Jack Finley. It was August of '43, in the middle of the war. As I wrote, I felt I was slowly losing contact with him, but still, I wrote, Dear Jack, my suspicions are that you are somewhere I have always wanted to go. Make the most of your free time and store up all the sights so that you can tell me about them when you return. September 25th, 1943. Dear Jack, the scarlet of the maples and the dazzling yellow of the birches challenge the sumacs, goldenrods, daisies, and asters of many hues. Brown-eyed Susans and thistles, lightened by the Queen Anne's lace, form a tapestry that no French designer has ever approached. Across the fields, shocks of brown corn stalks and the last of alfalfa suggests summer is waning. But more definite harbingers of winter are the crisp air and the flocking birds. Only the hawks, as they circle high over the ridges, seem oblivious of any approaching change in the daily routine. Now take care, Jack. Affectionately, Myrtle Trowbridge. It was the letters that kept Jack and the rest of the boys alive in my memory. It was their connection to La Crosse and their connection with me that made all the difference in the world. Those boys meant the world to me. They always will.